does God tempt us to do good stuff?
Does he tempt us to do good stuff?
Like if the devil tempts us to do bad stuff,
Mhm.
does God tempt us to do good stuff?
Okay, tempt is a weird word. No, like does God lead us to do good stuff or inspire us, point us, influence us? Yes.
Okay.
And if you're wanting to label that as the same as temptation, okay, but I've never thought of it that way before or understood temptation to be seen as that. Yeah, I mean again, we read this last week, James 1:12. Excuse me, James 1:13. Since God is not tempted by evil and he himself doesn't tempt anyone, but that's kind of like that connection to the idea of doing evil, right? So God obviously doesn't tempt us to do evil, but enticing us to sin. And so he does test us.
Okay.
I'll say that because he does test us. So like another understanding of temptation would be like testing of our worth or our character, right? And so it talks about Abraham in Genesis 22:1. Remember when God told Abraham to take his son Isaac?
Oh.
Yeah. And it says there in
God tempted Abraham to do murder.
Well, in Genesis 22:1, it says, after these things, God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, here I am, he answered, take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering as one of the mountains I will tell you about. So he didn't. This is kind of wild because he was testing Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
And now he was never going to allow it to be murder, right?
Okay.
Because as soon as Abraham's being faithful, Abraham's willing to do it. But then, we know the story, right? God stops him. He doesn't kill Isaac. There ends up being a ram, that's caught in the bush. And so he goes and kills the ram instead, ram. And so anyways, so it's not like he was tempting him to do evil. Evil wasn't going to be a part of it, but there was a testing of Abraham. Are you going to obey? Are you going to follow through with this? And the result of it was a great reward for Abraham.
Okay.
So by him, quote unquote, passing the test, not only was it accredited to him as righteousness, but it was also all right, now your son, this son is going to fulfill the promise that I had, promised you, the Lord was telling Abraham of allowing Abraham to be the father of many nations, right?
Okay.
And so in that sense, there was a testing of Abraham that led to a positive result, if you want to call it that way.
But
positive outcome.
So in that verse in the New Testament where it says, if you thought about whatever, that's the same as doing it. Did God not make Abraham think about murder, which is the same as doing it?
Yeah, okay, well, I think there's one thing. Okay, so I'm assuming you're referencing the idea of
lusting heart or
right,
something?
like Matthew chapter 5, right?
Yeah.
Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus says, you've heard it said, do not murder.
Right.
But I tell you, if you have anger in your heart toward anyone, you've already committed murder, right? Okay. Well, but this is different, though, because Abraham, even though he was willing to sacrifice his child, there was no anger. There was no, right? There was no, he wasn't angry at Isaac and therefore wanting to kill him.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's very different.
All right.
Yeah.
So God doesn't tempt us to do good stuff. He just wants us to.
Yeah, he just wants us to. And I believe the Holy Spirit in us, as born again believers, Holy Spirit in us is leading, pushing, right? But I say pushing, it might be the right word, but is wanting to cause his fruit to come forth. So, gentleness and kindness and faithfulness and, self-control, all are there. So that's what he's leading us toward, influencing us toward. But again, at the end of the day, it's our choice if we respond to that or not.